Today we're going to talk about the 4 things you can do as a beginning guitar player that will take you from zero to hero much faster. So thing number 1, when you're first practicing, whether it be scales or just even way at the beginning when you're trying to get the first few chords down, it's a very good idea to start working with a metronome or even a drum beat of some sort when you first begin. It's going to force you to learn to play in time, to be more rhythmic and more musical, which is a problem I see with a lot of beginning guitarists. Even after a year, if they haven't worked with some kind of beat or click, they end up, their sense of time is very off, and it's difficult to play in a band, and their playing just doesn't have that same quality as someone who has that inner groove, that click that's going on in their head because they've listened to beats so long. So, and you can do this stuff for free. If you type metronome into Google, it has its own metronome built in. And you can also, for a free drum beat, onemotion.com has a free drum machine right there on the website, and you can play along with the beats. And as you're learning stuff, you can change the tempo. So if you can only play something 80, 90 beats per minute, you can work on it that day, working at it 100 beats the next day. So even when you're just learning like your first open chords and you're strumming these things, what happens when you're first starting is you tend to do like this, and then you're moving your hand trying to configure it. And if you're playing with a click and it's going, and you just keep your hand going, it will mentally force you to make your fingers move quicker and conform to the switches that you need to switch, and it's going to make you get better much quicker. So that's thing number 1. Thing number 2, and this is a huge one, and something that even advanced guitar players find that it helps a lot if they haven't been doing this, and I teach them about it, it really accelerates their learning process. And that is that you take 2, maybe 3 things that you want to work on, and you practice them in short bursts. So what I'm saying is, if you're working on, maybe you're just learning the pentatonic scale, and you're struggling with it, you're having problems with the switches or a particular riff, and you just keep working on it, you're really determined. And even if you're working with a metronome and you're trying to get it a little faster each time, and you're playing the riff over and over and over again, and you do this for a couple hours and think, I'm putting a couple hours of practice in. Well, your ability to learn that, I guess whatever the biology of it is, the creating neural pathways and muscle memory, whatever that's all about, you will do much better at it and learn much quicker if you practice that one thing for 5 to 10 minutes and then move on to a second thing that you're practicing 5 to 10 minutes. If there's a third, maybe a third, or just kind of noodle, play around, make some random music. So maybe you're doing a scale, like I was saying, the pentatonic, and you just keep working on that, trying to get it up to speed. And then you switch to something else that you're working on. Maybe it's just a finger exercise. And then for about 5 minutes, you're just making some music. And then you put it down and you walk away. And then you come back 20 minutes later, half hour later, and you do this 3 or 4 times. Maybe, if you're working a regular 9 to 5 job, it's when you get home at night, you do it in front of the TV and you put it down, go get a drink, have something to eat, pick it back up again, put it down. Half hour later, you're watching a different show, pick it up, do it again. You do this 3-4 times a day. You're going to pick up the information and form those pathways that allow you to play these techniques much quicker than if you just spent 2 straight hours practicing the same thing over and over. 2 hours with 4 intervals of practice in it is much more useful than 2 straight hours of playing. Thing number 3, tabs are good, and you want to learn other people's music, and you download tabs online or even buy tab books or whatever. It's a good way to learn other songs. But if you really want to get good and develop your ear and learn other people's music at the same time, start transcribing some music yourself. Get some blank tab paper, and if you don't know what I'm talking about with tab, it's tablature. It is, it's much easier to read than standard music notation. It's specific for guitars or stringed instruments. I will include a link here for a place where you can go that explains how to read tabs, but if you get any one of the guitar magazines, they have a little description in it. It's very simple. And also, there is a piece of software which makes transcribing very easy called Transcribe, and I'll include a link to that. It allows you to slow the sections down without changing the pitch. So if you're trying to work on a difficult passage, you can slow it down to like half speed. But it's very important, and it was a huge part of my development, was taking my favorite songs and learning them note for note. And it got to the point where I was doing so much of it, I could tell you which string a particular riff was being played on, even if it was the same note. Like here you have A, B, C, and A, B, C also here. And with players or records that I was transcribing the entire thing, I could hear the difference in the tone between the strings. And these nuances are the kinds of things that really make you a better musician. I can't speak highly enough about how important it is to do transcribing on your own, especially when you're just developing your guitar skills. So the final thing now is one that is probably going to make a lot of guitar players that are just starting out a little bit nervous or cringe even because they don't think they're ready for it. But I'm going to tell you that one of the best things you can do is right away, even when you just first start learning how to play chords and you can play one progression, whatever, kind of smoothly, start recording yourself. Get some free software like Reaper. It's a little bit complex. There's some simpler things. Anything where you can just do a couple of tracks where it's you and then you playing over yourself, just so there's two of you on the track. There's apps on iPhone and Android, and I'll include some links in the video and below as well to what I consider to be simple software to use. There's something to be said for hearing yourself back and engaging in that creativity that will make you think about making music instead of just playing some chords and noodling around on the guitar. Even when you're just learned a D chord and a C chord, a couple of things that you just started out with, find ways to make a song out of it that's in your own voice. It gets you thinking about creating music and expressing yourself rather than just being a robot.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger!
Spitting out the chords that are in front of you that you learned in your lessons or however it is that you're going about learning. I recorded my first song within the first year that I was playing. Now, it wasn't great, but it allowed me to hear back what my weaknesses were and allowed me to hear back what my strengths were, and I started developing a voice right away. So it's really important for you to get past any idea that you might not be good enough and just make something out of what you have in your toolbox already. There's a lot of great songs out there that were just basically 3 or 4 chords and didn't require a whole lot of skill. And you could be making those within the first year of playing. You don't have to be a virtuoso to record, so don't hold yourself back. Start making music and start recording the music as soon as you can. So those are my 4 tips for beginners to accelerate the learning process for you. I hope you find these useful and it helps you get to making the kind of music you want to make that much sooner. As always, guys, leave any comments, any suggestions below. Let me know how your progress is going. I always want to hear from new players, and I'm always anxious to help out and give people whatever tips they need to help accelerate their learning process. So until next time, keep making great music. Hey friends, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. It makes the whole world better.